All right, grade 8s, welcome back to part 2 of our lesson on equivalent ratios. Let's take a look here. So right here I have two ratios. They're equivalent. The problem is one of the numbers is missing out of the equivalent ratio. So they're saying 2 to 7 is equal to blank to 28. So let's solve this. Kind of looks difficult when it's written like this, doesn't it? So watch, I'm going to write this ratio differently. We learned this last day. I can write 2 to 7 numerous ways, but I'm going to write it as a fraction. Okay, so we're saying 2 to 7 is equal to, in this case, the first number in our ratio is always the one on top, and we don't know what that is, this little question mark right here. But I know the bottom is 28. Okay, well, let's use our math skills that we've learned over years here at Argyle and figure out how, with this equal sign, how can 7 change to a 28? Well, it's very easy. All I have to do is multiply this 7 by 4, and that gets me to 28. And I know that whatever I do to the bottom of a fraction, I must do to the top. So in this case, if I multiply the bottom by 4, I multiply the top by 4. And that means 2 times 4 is 8. So over here, I can say 2 to 7, the ratio 2 to 7 is equivalent to the same as 8 to 28. Think about it this way. If you had 2 pizzas and they were sharing 7 pieces of pepperoni, that would be equal to 8 pizzas sharing 28 pieces of pepperoni. Okay, well, let's try another one here. Pause the video, see if you can answer this one right here, and then I'll show you how I got my answer afterwards. Okay. All right, so 5 to 12 is equal to 25 to something. What I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite this as a fraction. So the first number becomes my numerator. The second number in the ratio becomes my denominator. 5 to 12 is equal to, first number I know, my numerator up here is 25. And what I'm trying to figure out is, what's my denominator? I do not know. Okay, well, 5 to 25. How do I get 5 to go to 25? Well, I multiply it actually by itself in this case. 5 times 5. So 5 times 5 is 25. If I multiply the top by 5, I have to multiply the bottom by 5. And I know 5 times 12, well, 5 times 10 is 50. 5 times 2 is 10. 50 plus 10 is 60. So I know that 5 to 12 is equal to 25 to 60. And basically what that's saying is, if you had 5 pizzas sharing 12 pieces of pepperoni, it would taste the exact same as 25 pizzas sharing 60 pieces of pepperoni. Hopefully that makes sense. Let's go back to our key learnings here. So we've touched on equivalent ratios are equal. I've showed you that a few different ways now. We've shown you how an equivalent ratio can be formed by multiplying or dividing. We've done both of those. As long as you divide or multiply by the same number. And the last one here I want to show you really quickly is that a ratio is in its simplest form when its terms have no common factors. All right, so what do I mean by that? Well, here you go. Here's a ratio, 16 to 4. You might see something like, put this ratio in its simplest terms. Well, what I could do is a couple things here. Let's just say, what factors do 4 and 16 share? One that jumps out at me right away is 2, because I know they're both even. So let's take a look at this. I could divide this side by 2, and if I divide the left by 2, I have to divide the right by 2. So what's my new equivalent ratio become? Well, let me answer that below. 16 divided by 2 is 8, to 4 divided by 2 is 2. Now the question was, put it in its simplest terms. You know what? It's in simplest terms when there are no more common factors. Let's go here. Is there any factors is there any numbers that go into 2 as well as 8? Well, they're both even numbers, so we know that 2 can go in there. So go like this. 8 divided by 2 2 divided by 2. So 8 divided by 2 is 4, and 2 divided by 2 is 1. Okay? Is there any more factors that can go into 4 and 1? Don't think so. They have no more common factors, so we can say that 16 to 4 in its lowest term is actually 4 to 1. All right? Basically, the way to look at that is if you have 4 pizzas and they're sharing 16 pieces of pepperoni, or you had 1 pizza sharing 4 pieces of pepperoni, they would taste the same. The quality is equal. Okay, so here is my question for you. I'm going to give you a fraction. I'm going to give you a ratio. 30 to 6. I'm going to ask you to answer that by putting it in its simplest form and comment on the Edmodo comment box. Alrighty, thanks a lot, grade 8s. Hopefully that helped you out. This video is for Monday. We will work on class on Monday. Get ready to have a color, red, yellow, or green, and we'll sit according to those colors and have a good class. Alright, have a great weekend, and we'll see you Monday.